Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. Brought to you by Friend Entertainment USA, producing the best concerts for charities and corporations for over 30 years. And CBMS Consulting Services, control your business before it controls you. In association with Area 22 Productions, your multimedia streaming network. Now, here is Darren and the Music Man. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. As you see, I still don't have my partner Norman with me. He's still ill. I wish him the best. I know he's actually doing much better, so we're looking for him to be back here with us very shortly. So tonight, we got two guests tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. The first guest, really cool person, a friend of mine by the name of Ellen Williams. She does some stuff that's very similar to what I do in my thing, but she does it a little bit differently and she does it a little unique. And what's really cool is her company name, the Data Check. So I want to welcome Ellen Williams to the show tonight. Hi, Ellen. How are you tonight?
Hi, Darren. I'm great.
So how did you come up with the name Data Check?
Funny you should ask. It seems like a lot of the jobs I've had over my career, regardless of whether it's been marketing or some other profession, I always wind up with my hands in the systems and helping the systems get developed. And so eventually people just said, oh, just go talk to the Data Check.
Right.
And when I launched in January, I thought, well, here we go. I've had a 20 some odd year career. Everything has stemmed from data, and so I just named it the Data Check.
All right. Very cool. That's very cool. So we were having a conversation before the show, right, about what you do and how you do it, and you and I are sitting there going, wow, we do a lot of the same things. Yeah. So explain how a company would engage you and why they would engage you.
So they would engage me because they're really growth-minded. A lot of my clients have gotten themselves to the point where they want to get to that next level, but they're really not sure how, and they know they can, but they need some help.
Right.
So I come in to bring a fresh set of eyes to the business and really start asking questions that you and I were talking about earlier, sort of uncover things that they didn't realize they were doing. And when we were able to map out the process, then we were able to look at their technology, the systems they have, the software they have, how they're using it, and enable them to be more efficient, be more productive, and then really enable them to get to that next level.
Get to the next level. And now, as you and I spoke, earlier in my career where I was working with a company where we were installing accounting systems and CRM systems, my job was to go in and kind of figure out how they did things and then kind of take what they did and make it work. You're doing it a little bit differently because I had to make it work for what we were selling, right? Because that was how my company made money.
Right.
You're coming up from the other perspective of what systems do they have in place, how can we make them more efficient, and what is the best fit for them with the technology.
Correct.
Right? And that's really where you're focusing because we all know there are thousands of programs out there today. Right?
Correct.
Absolutely, thousands of programs.
Sure.
And everybody you talk to, I actually met with a potential client yesterday. Very similar situation. He's stuck. He wants to grow. He knows he needs to grow, but he doesn't know how to do it.
Right.
And right away he was like, well, I'm using this and I'm using that. But if you took all the parts and put them together, they would work very well.
Right.
But he's not putting them together.
Right.
So he's using them separately. Which is, when you think about it, that's how a lot of people are, and that's why they need people like you.
Correct.
Right?
I find that often. You do either the best of breed, so you've got the greatest CRM and the greatest accounting and the greatest project management, but when they wind up in silos, you wind up having data re-entered, mistakes being made. It's really important that systems communicate with each other.
Absolutely. And in this day and age, it's not like it was when we first started, like nothing ever happened.
Of course.
Of course. That's what we keep doing.
That's right. It's got to be smooth.
So like I was saying before our technology snafu, Ellen, how do people get a hold of you?
Sure. So the website, real simple, the website is thedatacheck.com. You can email me at thedatachick.com, or give me a call on my cell, 718-598-1607.
All right.
That easy.
It's that easy. Just
It
make a
is.
phone call. You make a phone call. You can, if you're like a lot of people and you don't want to talk to her, you can on the phone. Well, our millennials only want to communicate via text or email.
Yeah,
right?
well, there's the number to text to as well.
So you can text that number. You can call that number. Her email address is ellen@thedatachick.com, right? Because you didn't give that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
Sure did.
Ellen@thedatachick.com, and she will get in touch with you right away. Now, one of the things you said before when you were talking about information getting into silos, a lot of our clients, or a lot of our watchers and listeners don't understand what a data silo could be or what an information silo could be. So can you explain and expand upon how things get thrown into silos?
Sure. A really, really easy way is you have an office where there's 3 or 4 different people. They all love Excel.
Right.
They're all putting their information in Excel, but wouldn't it be great if everybody could sort of share that information? So
Right.
what happens is they're emailing it back and forth, and there's no real source of truth, or there's no centralization of that information. And that's sort of the worst case scenario, because one day someone doesn't come in and you can't get to their computer and they have important information. So when you have multiple places where data can reside, that's when, from a visual standpoint, it's like a silo.
It's like a silo that they put grain in and things like that.
Exactly.
That's where that
Yeah.
terminology came
Yeah,
from.
absolutely.
And what happens is everything gets stuck in one spot.
Correct.
Right? And,
Correct.
And it's not coming together.
Right, it's not integrating. Not
Right.
everyone who needs to see it they don't necessarily have access to
Right.
it. And that's why you want to implement some sort of centralized database, such as a customer relationship database, CRM, or just even like a Dropbox online or a SharePoint online. And you were talking earlier about, communicating the different systems.
Right.
Now that almost everything is software as a service, otherwise known as a SaaS, a lot of them talk to each other in ways that years ago you'd need to customize a bridge to get that data to move.
Right. And in our cloud-based, life now, because everything seems to be cloud-based, where I used to have to go to all my clients in order to do my job, now I can sit at my desk and take care of 99% of my clients. I still go out and visit my clients to do certain things.
Sure.
But for the most part, to analyze their data, to get their financial information, all of that stuff, I do it all online now.
Correct.
I think I've got one client that still has QuickBooks for desktop, but everybody else is, in the cloud.
QuickBooks is that exception because the
Yeah.
desktop version is so much more.
Oh yeah, it's
So much more powerful
it's
than
night
the
and
online
day.
version.
It's
Yeah,
night and day.
absolutely.
Oh,
But
without a-
and I'm the same way, and it also gives a lot of flexibility to the employees to be remote as well.
Right.
And for salespeople that are on the road to stay connected and to have that information get updated in real time. So there's no gap in communication between what I'm doing and what you're doing
Right.
and what the third person in the office needs to know that you and I are doing, right?
Well, it's helpful too, right? And like you were just saying, when a customer calls and you pull their information up in the computer, you have all the most current information there.
Yeah, very valuable.
So it's all valuable stuff, and it's very important what you do in bringing customers. I run into this all the time, and we were talking about this before, how I do executive coaching, and
Right.
one of the things that we always run into is where people are stuck. They can't get over the way, we've always done it this way. It works. I don't want to change.
Right.
We were talking about that before. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, I have a great story there. I had a client years ago. They were adopting a new customer relationship management software, a new CRM, and we were working with each of the salespeople individually because they all have their own style, and they all had a concern that I'm going to be micromanaged.
Right.
So that element is there because the management really does want to see what's going on, but the tool really does help the salespeople as well.
Right.
So I was working with this this older woman who had been there for a long time, and she had on the wall of her cubicle, she had all these manila folders with all her client information, and that's great. I mean, I write stuff down today. Well, how do you prepare your estimates? Oh, and she pulls one of them down and she opens it up, and she's quoting the same price she's quoted for like the last 5 years.
Wow.
And when we started looking at the data, her sales were at a loss. And until we really put all that in the system, we weren't really able to see that. And so it's a combination of, yes, the management needs to understand what's going on, but it's also why are we implementing this? And I think the more the users understand why and the benefit they're going to get from it, even if it's on an individual basis, the more willing they are to adopt the software.
And that's one of the things that we do is and you're doing the same thing. We're teaching management to teach their why to their employees.
Absolutely.
So, you got to get everything that you do in a business in your life, there's a why to it. Why am I doing this? And a lot of times business owners don't know why they're doing it. So part of our job is to get them to realize their why, and then take their why and get everybody else to buy into it. Once everybody buys into it, then it's a whole different story.
I have another client that switched from QuickBooks to it's Sage CRE, which used to be called Timberline, which is a very complicated system. And
construction specific.
Exactly. And when they brought me in, they had already made the switch because it was driven by their need for better job costing.
Right.
And the billing person was pulling her hair out, complaining about the system, until I sat down with her and explained the difference between QuickBooks, where, you get to delete stuff, and
I made a mistake.
any other really complicated accounting system where things are reversed. So a lot of the reports had in, out, because they really didn't understand strict accounting rules. And once we really explained, here's why it's more difficult than QuickBooks, but here's the end result and why we needed to implement this type of software. The next week I saw her, and her complaints had stopped. She wasn't happy with the system yet, but she wasn't complaining about it because she really understood why.
She understood it, but she still wasn't happy with the additional processes that she had to do.
But she didn't complain.
Right. Exactly. And that's really important that some of the challenges I think you come across, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Number one is change. And in order to get people to buy into change, you got to show them the why. You got to show them the benefit. Now, some people may say, I don't care. I still want to do this. The client I was talking to you about before, for 30-something years, he's been doing everything on paper. We finally got him to start doing it electronically with his workers and stuff. He's still having a hard time with it because it's technology, and when he gets to the computer right away, as soon as he does this and it doesn't work, he goes, and he picks up the phone and calls me, and then I talk him off the ledge, and then we go. What steps have you taken that you have found to be the most successful in getting people to buy into change? Because we all have different personalities we run into in a company. You walk into a company, and you almost immediately I know what that person's about. I know what that person, just by interviewing them, where they all fit, within the company. Other than that woman that you just spoke about, tell me another challenge that you've come across, that's a little bit different, and how you handled it separately. Because it's important. I think it's important that our viewers see, and our business owners that are watching see what you bring to the table and the value of what you bring to the table. So people are not wasting a lot of time getting things done by making these changes, bringing somebody like you in to help them with the transition, so they're not trying to figure it out as they go. They can still do their business on a day-to-day. Let me go take care of the day-to-day stuff. You get the system squared away. I can still work and make money for my company.
Correct.
Right?
And you really hit on it. It comes down to time. So
Right.
when businesses are making that kind of transition where they know they need to change their process and they know they potentially need to change their system, they also still have to get the job done. Right? They still have to run their business. So to have me come in and not have that day-to-day task, but to have that higher level task of helping them get through the change can be really helpful.
Right.
But to your question, sometimes each person needs to be communicated with and handled a little differently.
Right.
So I had one client that was,
So
again,
you're a psychology major too.
a little bit, yeah. So I had a client with a CRM system, and for the most part, everyone liked it. But again, one salesperson was saying it takes too much time.
Right.
Which there's a learning curve. So of course, in the beginning, yes, it was taking a little bit of time. And what we wound up doing is we had everyone in the conference room, and we simulated a sales call. So he's across the table from me, and so he calls in, and I'm at the computer, and we have it up on the wall
Right.
through a projector, so everyone in the conference room can see. So he says who he is, and I'm typing as I'm speaking.
Right.
His record comes up. I'm able to look at information we've already captured about him, reference it back to him,
Right.
talk about what I know is the next step based on the information in the system, and then schedule my next call with him as I'm on the phone, pretend to be on the phone with him when he's available, and I'm going to send this document out. By the time we hung up, my system was updated and I was ready for the next call.
Right.
And he kind of went.
He was like, well, I was still,
"Okay."
now I got to put all the notes in my book. And,
Right, but
yeah.
but he was like, okay, and
Yeah.
it was obvious that I obviously knew the system, but it was a place that he could get to.
Right.
And it didn't seem so overwhelming when he saw it in action.
Well, and that's, my question is, when you're trying to train people, because I've trained people, and I know you've trained a lot of people, I find it inefficient to train people where you just go, here's, ABC company from Anytown, USA. I like to basically throw them in the water and say, go swim. Here's real stuff that we're working on. Let's get it going.
It's more meaningful when the data is relevant.
You find more success
Absolutely.
with that, right? Okay. Yeah, because that's one of the things I find too, and I told you the psychology major is every client you run into, I'm sure there's always that one person where you got to spend that extra time
Sure.
on the phone or with them
Sure.
and just talk them off the ledge,
Either they
right?
don't have the skills and they're a little bit embarrassed to say it in a group, so
Right.
you need to spend extra time on them to make sure they truly understand how to use it,
Right.
or they just don't want anything to do with it,
Right.
and so you have to sort of feed into their ego a little bit to give them that extra time and
Yeah.
say, it's important that you do this. So tell me what you're feeling and why, and we can figure out
And that's where
what
the
works for
psychology
you.
comes in, because you got to understand, you understand it. You can't just keep beating your head against the wall to get somebody to do something. You have to
Right.
figure out what their trigger is
Right.
and get them to accept it. So that can be a
Right.
challenging thing.
Yeah, and the
And for-
training doesn't always work in a group either,
Right.
because then you're only going as fast as the slowest
Person.
person, and so the other people are getting frustrated and maybe bored.
Especially our millennials who are who are 6 pages ahead of us when
Sometimes,
we're working on stuff. It's
sometimes,
great.
but not
Sometimes not.
necessarily with the process and the
Yeah.
business. So they still have some things
And
to
that's
learn
the
from
key.
us.
So tell our small business owners, our small and medium-sized business owners, who are just either starting out or their company is growing, why it's so important to always be ahead of yourselves. And what I mean by that is knowing what the next thing is coming for your company and your growth pattern and what you should be looking for, and relying on that outside help to make you more efficient.
Sure.
Because every hour, and correct me if I'm wrong, every hour I take away from doing my business to implement the new system is that much less money my company is making.
Certainly, potentially,
Right?
yes.
And that's for all my employees too, right?
Correct.
All right. So what kind of ROI would I get in bringing someone like you in?
Sure. So the ROI really is time and money. So you're not spending the time trying to figure out how to use the system. You have someone there who can answer your questions quickly.
Right.
And you're also bringing your whole team up to speed in a way that's geared toward, as we just said, how they individually learn. So it's great to say, well, go to YouTube or, get a book, but people learn differently. And I know personally, if I'm not hands-on with a system, I can read all day long and I'll sort of know what it
Right.
does.
I'm the same
But
way.
I really need to be hands-on.
I got to do it. I got to jump in the pool and go swimming.
Yeah, so I think small businesses, they need to have a plan, and the systems need to support that plan, and the systems need to be a little bit ahead. Because if a small business can really follow through with their growth plan, then you don't want to be replacing a system in a short period of time. You want that system to be able to scale as you grow.
So it's very important for, and what you're saying is very important for a business to know where they are today, where they're going to be a year from now, where they want to be 5 years from now, and what their growth plan is, or build their business roadmap.
Correct.
Right.
And how do they know where they are today? And that's where
And where
some of the
they're going.
businesses but that's where some of the businesses I help as well, and I think you do too. They need to understand where they are today.
Right.
So I can have great plans for the future, but if my starting point isn't where I think it is or where I expect it to be, then we're not able to go down that road.
Well, you're not going to get to your destination.
Exactly.
Because you're starting at a different spot
Exactly.
than where you're going, right?
So the data, to bring it full circle, helps businesses understand where they are now.
Right.
In a way that if they're not looking at the data, they may not get right.
Right. That's fantastic. So again, Ellen, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, all right,
Yep.
let our viewers know how they can get a hold of you.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So visit me at www.thedatachick.com and shoot me an email at ellen@thedatachick.com. And if you are so inclined to speak with me, we'll have a great conversation at 718-598-1607.
All right. Thank you, Ellen. Now,
my pleasure.
You have, not only are you out there blazing the trail and helping small businesses become big businesses, right? But you have other interests.
Sure.
And you have other things. And we have this wonderful
Right?
basket of vegetables, that are fresh from the garden.
They're fresh from the farm.
Fresh from the farm. So let's be clear on that.
That's
they
correct.
are fresh from the farm. So what farm are they from?
Specifically, they're from Homecoming Farm, and
Homecoming
I am a proud board member on this wonderful nonprofit.
So it's a Homecoming Farm is a nonprofit.
Yes.
And we have the executive director from
We
Homecoming
do.
Farm.
I'm thrilled to introduce Elizabeth Keene, who is the executive director of Homecoming Farm in Amityville. Elizabeth and I met several years ago, and I love everything the farm is doing. I've done some volunteer work, not actually hands in the dirt, but
Right.
more from the, guess what? Data and processes. Yeah, it's a stretch, huh? But I really do love everything they're doing, and I was really pleased that they recently asked me to become a board member. So
Congratulations
very
on that.
exciting. And
Elizabeth,
so-
welcome to the show.
Thank you so
All
much
right.
for having me.
Oh, we're very proud to have you here. I'm
Thank you.
sorry you didn't get to meet Norman tonight. I know he wanted to be
Well,
here
I
for
hope
this.
he's feeling well soon.
Yes, so am I.
Yes.
So tell us about Homecoming Farm and what you guys are all about.
Well, Homecoming Farm is a small CSA, which is a community-supported agriculture project. We're on the land of the Sisters of St. Dominic in Amityville.
Okay, so, and I don't mean to
That's okay.
interrupt, but a community-supported agricultural project.
Right.
Okay, does that mean the community is involved with it? Does
Yes,
that mean-
yes.
So how's the community involved?
Okay, so the way we operate is we sell shares to people in the community.
Okay.
So because we have a single farmer, we are operating on a single farm,
Right.
and people pay for shares. And then what happens, either on a Tuesday or a Saturday, which are called pickup days,
Right.
they share the food that's harvested that day. So this arrangement on this table is actually pretty much a sample of what you would have gotten if you came on Tuesday for a pickup.
Oh, okay.
And so we divide it up every week among all the people that are members. We have approximately 100 families.
Okay.
And then we also donate about a third of our food, which is sort of averaging out to a little more than a ton every season to the Interfaith Nutrition Network in Hempstead.
Okay.
And so it's a way to engage our membership in that they're feeding their own families, they're feeding the other families that are parts of the farm,
Right.
but they're also feeding the hungry in the community.
Okay.
So it's a really beautiful way to sort of expand our table among
Right.
many people.
It sounds like a fantastic project, and I got to come down and visit you guys one
Yes,
time.
please.
So you have one farmer. He's the
He's
guy
our
who-
lead grower,
He's our,
Donald.
Your lead
He's our lead
grower.
grower.
I'm assuming you guys need help because all charities need help.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If obviously you're a 501c3. You take donations.
Yes, we
Right.
do.
But what if, and this is something that I run across all the time too, people who don't have money to donate, but they want to help.
Right.
How can people help you?
We have a really beautiful, extensive network of people that want to support our farm. And so they do want to be the ones that come and put their hands in the dirt.
Right.
They do want to help harvest the
I like
food.
Ellen.
But it's really, we joke you don't need a gym membership. All you need is a farm membership. So what they can do is they can help us. We are a certified
Will we get
organic
overalls
farm.
with the farm membership?
We have T-shirts and hats. But because we're a certified organic farm, and we're certified by NOFA, which means you can totally trust that we're really not using.
So what is NOFA?
So NOFA is the Northeast Organic Farm Association.
Okay.
They come and visit us every year. They spend hours at our farm. They walk through our beds. They look at all of our paperwork. They ask us where we bought our seed. They ask us how we're caring for the food, how we're growing the food. So you know that there are no pesticides or herbicides used in growing any of those vegetables in your basket. However, when you are doing that and not using pesticides and herbicides, you are mostly relying on physical labor
Right.
to take care of weeds, to protect against bugs. I mean,
Right.
if you have, for example, if you have some little worms in your cabbage, the best way to get rid of them is to basically go through the field and pluck
We
them out.
have, I told you guys before the show, we have a garden at home.
Yes.
We have a potato bug issue.
Oh, Lord.
Right.
Oh,
And-
Lordy.
yeah, which the
So you-
second year in a row we've had this potato bug issue. The plants have gotten nice and big and ready to, and all of a sudden the leaves are just starting to get eaten up. Do you run
We've
into
been
that?
spared. We've been spared. It's probably it could be the Colorado potato beetle.
Right.
We've been spared that.
They look
we
like
did.
almost like ladybugs.
They're like ladybugs.
And
That's
I
exactly
said, oh, they're
right.
ladybugs. And
Now I
no,
will.
they're
Well,
potato bugs. They're
I'll tell
killing
you
my
who
plant.
likes to eat them.
Who's that?
Ladybugs.
Ladybugs like to eat
Yes,
potato bugs.
ladybugs are actually.
Us as humans, we take for granted. There are, nature is the way it is because
The aquifer.
Yep.
So all those chemicals, that's where they're going.
Yeah.
And then they're making their way to the bay, and then they're making their way into the ocean.
Yep.
And so there's a whole cycle of damage that's being done. At our farm, we're not participating in any of that.
Right.
And more than that, we're trying to find ways to protect the bees. So we have honeybees at our farm
Right.
to deal with colony collapse disorder. We've created an insect sanctuary where we
Really?
have an insect motel, which is to yes, which is to encourage people to understand. We all have lawn services that
Right.
do a fall cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Lawn services are fantastic. That's how we take care of the front of our houses.
Right.
We make ourselves happy, our neighbors happy.
Right.
But at the end of the season, they come and they blow everything out. So every little leaf, everything is gone.
Right.
But that's where the native bees, that's where they need to
We
have
have-
homes.
I-
And we take that away from them.
I have acre and a third, and I have bees everywhere. This year we had the carpenter bee.
Oh, you did?
And,
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like on our front porch, we got nice little holes.
Little round holes.
Little round holes, like perfectly.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, but we got them everywhere,
It's
in our yard.
it's so important.
Because we put, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
Because we put all our leaves in the woods, we don't get rid of them, because we
Right.
have like a third of our property is all woods. So that's where we put all that stuff. But if somebody wanted to get in touch with you and they want to help out, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can reach me by phone in my office, and that phone number is 631-842-6000, and I'm at extension 307. Or you can email me at Sophia, Sophia, gardengrow@aol.com. And I would love if you'd like to come down and volunteer and help us weed.
Do you guys have a website?
We do have a website, and it's
Okay.
called Homecoming Earth. It's a beautiful website. I think it really reflects all of the philosophy that goes along with our farm. We're not just about growing food. We're about education. We're about spreading the word of the oneness of all of creation, that we're all a part of something grander than ourselves, and that we're all connected. And I'm one of those people that's lucky enough to say, I love my job.
So you talked about education, all right? And educate. I learned something today about. I'm going to go out and get ladybugs,
Yeah.
right? To help our little garden at home. Who do you educate?
We have an enormous amount of children that come to our farm. I mean, we have hundreds of kids in a season.
Now, do you have now? Let's talk about the season. Is this during the school year? Is it out of the school year?
It depends. Some kids get to come before school ends because we actually begin working in the farm around April. So they can come sort of in that April to May, June
Right.
area, or they can come while we're still in operation from October through November.
Okay.
So we can accommodate school
And the
groups.
seasons are kind of shifting,
And
right?
so
this,
that is so true.
you
That
know,
is so
I
true.
mean, this year we had snow through March.
That's right.
And the beginning of April, we had that crazy rain and things like that.
Right.
So it was this year's kind of the spring really wasn't. Right?
What we're finding, all of the farmers on Long Island are finding, that we're losing those transitional seasons. Spring is not the spring from our youth.
Right.
So I can give you an example where it's, I say it's kind of the canary in the coal mine, warning us about climate change. Like traditionally, I've been at the farm close to 10 years, we would always plant our peas on St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
Well, what's happened over the last few years is the ground has still been frozen in March. So now we're pushing it into April.
Right.
Sometimes we've actually pushed it a little bit further than that in the hope that the peas will grow.
Right.
But they don't always make it. So you're right.
We're
Seasons have
almost
changed.
having, I guess, for a lack of better terminology, like an Indian winter the last few years.
That's correct.
Where it goes from really cold, it starts to get spring-like, and then
That's
all of a
right.
sudden that really cold comes back
Right.
again.
That's right.
Kind of like in the fall where we have that Indian summer. All of a sudden it starts to get cool, and then we get smacked with some hot
Well,
days.
even
in
that's
between.
impacted on our growing. Last year, we had red tomatoes on our plants into November.
Wow.
That's unheard of, but that was because of the warmth. It was
Right.
warm enough
Yeah, it
to
was
do
warm.
that.
Yeah, it was
So
warm.
normally what happens is the people that want those green tomatoes, they want to pickle them, they want to
Right.
fry them. They're thinking, okay, we're going to get a ton of them that are left on the vine.
No.
They were red this past year.
right,
So it is, you talk about change. I was listening to you speak about change. That's what we've had to do even as a farmer, running a farm. Change has come to the way the farm grows.
Right.
And it's a lesson to anyone who comes that you need to be flexible.
Right.
You can't, and it can't be carved in stone in any of life. So that impacts even how we grow our food.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, getting back to the education piece,
Yes.
I'm gonna go back there because you said that they come during the seasons.
They do.
What do they learn? What do you guys teach them?
Okay, so our standard way of operating a group that comes, I mean, it depends upon what they're looking for, but generally speaking, what most groups want to come is, I work with Sister Jean Clark. She's a Dominican sister.
Okay.
She founded the farm 22 years ago. And we usually get a group of about 20, 25 kids, and we can do this programming with small children up through college age.
Okay.
We divide the group in half. Sister Jean works with part of the group. She works with the first half of the group. And what she's doing with them is talking to them about a sense of place and belonging and the oneness of all of creation, and gives them an opportunity. We ask them to take their phones. We take their phones,
Right.
and we send them out under the trees.
Oh, you mean they're not sitting there looking
No,
still,
no.
talking
And
to their friends?
And I'll tell you something very interesting. the last group that we had, it's a group that has come to us for over 8 years. And for the first time, the kids, when they were talking in this group with Sister Jean, they were talking about that some of the social media, maybe it's a problem even for them, that they're starting to feel they're getting a little disconnected, and they're starting to know it. So we've never had that happen before. Usually it's almost physically painful to tell them, you're going to leave your phone here while you go out under the trees. And when they're out under the trees, they get to feel the breeze, they get to hear the birds, and they get to calm themselves down. Most kids don't do that.
No,
they don't get to do that.
10 years ago, when, in the midst of all this technology growth and stuff like that, I was never without my phone. Now today, I'm like, I leave it everywhere because
Right.
it went from that, we never had that constant contact.
Oh, there you go.
Right? It was. And not plugging constant contact, but when we were kids, if we wanted to hang out with our friends and talk to our friends, what we have to do? We basically had to leave the house because we had one phone in the house, and if we had call,
cord that went forever.
right? No cord, whatever, and we really didn't have call waiting until we were, later.
Right.
And even before that, so it was like you weren't allowed to be on the phone for a long time, and if you want to go talk to your friends, you got to go see them. Get out of the house.
That's right.
Right? We weren't allowed to
right.
be in the house.
Yeah.
It was like, what are you doing home? What's wrong with you?
Right.
So I do that now. What's wrong with you? Oh, I'm talking to my friends. What do you mean you're talking to your friends? And they're,
Right.
they're texting, and it's that disconnection, like you
Right.
said, we got to get away from that.
And it's
We gotta
a
get back to that.
disconnection from themselves, it's a disconnection from other people, and then it's a disconnection from the earth and nature. So we try to address all of those, and that's the kids that are sitting with Sister Jean, that's what they do. Then I have the other half of the group, and we go through the fields and we taste things. Kids do not know the potatoes grow underground. You know that because you have a garden, but they don't know that. And you'll always find, like, if kids at first know, I don't like vegetables, I don't eat vegetables, I don't want to try it, but there's always one kid that'll try.
Right.
And all it takes is one, and then they all want to try.
Right.
So we get to walk through the fields, we get to talk about, well, what is organic, what does it mean? Kids are getting pretty sophisticated, they're scared about these chemicals, they're learning about the chemicals. I find that one of the beds that we have, they love touching the herbs and smelling them. So there's like a sensory experience in that. We have a Three Sisters bed, so we talk to them about Native American planting methods, which really is, it's the corn,
Right.
tall, beautiful corn, the beans that grow up her that she supports, and then the squashes that surround her that protect her, the corn and the peas that protects from, squirrels or raccoons
Oh, that's
from taking
cool.
the food. And that's a very common method of food growing across America, South America. Native American Indians have done that, and we teach them that.
It's the way it was always done, right?
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, this is how. My fear for a lot of our kids today is if they got stuck out in the middle of the woods, what are they going to do? Because they just don't know.
Well,
They're so-
to your point about the being stuck in the woods, I've worked with over 30 Eagle Scouts and have done 30 Eagle Scout projects. They have built teenage boys have built our infrastructure. But that is even an issue for them that they're asking about, do kids need to learn how to use compasses anymore? Because
Right.
they're all using phones. The kinds of things that were important, are they still important?
Well,
I think they are.
I think they are
I
too.
think they are. Do too.
I'm in the
Yeah.
I'm in the Air Force Auxiliary, and we have a cadet program. We work with kids 12 to 18, and we teach them search and rescue. And one of the things that we do, and we do a combination of, we can use technology to help us do the search and rescue, but your battery's going to die,
Right,
right? Or you're not going to have service.
right.
Right.
And what do you do then? And
Right.
that's what we teach them. We teach them compasses and,
Right.
how to do a pace count and all of those things. When you're in the middle of the woods, this is what you should be looking for and how you should be looking for it.
Yeah.
And these are the things that you got to be careful with. And when we lose a lot of that stuff with that. And it sounds like, it sounds like you guys are doing fantastic work.
Thank you.
And I know you got a big event coming up soon,
We do.
right?
Yeah, very
So why don't you guys
exciting.
tell us about the event that you got?
Yeah.
That it's happening, when it's happening.
We're having an event that Ellen has really worked really closely with me on this. She's been incredible. And it's called Cocktails in the Cloister. We are on the property of the Sisters of St. Dominic, and they have the most beautiful cloister. It's a replica of where they came from in Germany over 100 years ago when they came to Amityville to have our fundraiser. And so Ellen has worked very closely with our guest, of our chef, guest.
Right, yeah.
And he's from Jewel.
Yeah,
so-
he's from Jewel,
it's
appropriately, to be
appropriately.
at the Jewel. Yes, so Tom Chardell, the owner and chef at Jewel, is going to be doing farm-to-table recipes and a signature cocktail using the honey from the farm.
Really?
And, you know, in addition to all that around Tom, what Elizabeth didn't mention was typically the cloister and the garden and the chapel affiliated with it, it's close to the public.
Right.
So this gorgeous architecture and this amazing location is one that most Long Islanders have never been to, have never been able to come in.
If I wanted to go, right, how would number one, get tickets, or how do I get to this event? What, you know, how can I sign up for it?
Right, so luckily there's a link right on the Homecoming Farm homepage of their website.
Okay.
And you
And
just
that- and
click
that-
through
and
that.
that address is?
And that address is?
Homecomingearth.org.
Okay, homecomingearth.org.
Right.
Go there now, click on that link, get your tickets for this
Yeah.
great event that's coming up.
It's going to be very
right?
exciting, September 27th.
Okay.
It's a Thursday from 6:30 to 8.
All right.
Or is it from 6
No,
to 8:30?
6 to 8:30.
6 to
6 to
8:30.
8:30, okay. So you just added an hour on that by just
people wanna go
transposing,
longer.
see what transposing numbers will
Yes,
do, right?
That's right.
She's the data person.
Right?
And you
There
want
you
the
go.
data check, right? So,
I thought I was.
But it's a really, it's a very special thing because our farm was farmed by the sisters 100 years ago, that area.
Right.
So that was a farm. So it really ties into the history, not only of the sisters, but of Long Island and of Amityville.
people don't realize how much of
Yes.
Long Island was a farm.
Yes,
When
that's right.
When I was young, I lived right off of Deer Park Avenue.
Oh,
and
okay.
people don't realize that when you get off Deer Park Avenue and you make a right, there was farms right there.
Right.
It was all farm. It's all houses now.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was all farms out there. And then when I was, you know, a little bit older, I moved out east, and it was all farms out there still. And
Yeah, you
all of the
chase it
farms,
almost,
all
right?
of the farms are going away.
They're going away.
They really are going away, and it's a shame because, you
More
know,
than a shame, it's not a good thing.
it's not a good
It's
thing.
tragic.
we
tragically
need,
sad.
yeah.
It's
Well, then we
tragically
go, it gets
sad.
worse and worse. as we go
Yes,
down
I
the
mean, but it
table.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, actually I have a friend of mine that was part of a farming family on the North Fork and made millions by selling the land that's now developed.
Yeah.
And, you know, you sit there and you go, okay, you made millions, good for you, but now you go by there and it's like, and it's these developments that they build too.
And you know what's interesting, though? What we're finding is that as farmers are aging out across the whole country, a lot of the grandchildren of those people that
Right.
sold that property, they want to be farmers, and
Right.
now it's gone. Now it's gone. So our little farm in Amityville it was a farm. We've returned it to being a farm, which I'm very proud of.
Fantastic.
It's beautiful. You will come and meet people that believe what you believe, that care about the earth. You will get beautiful vegetables, and you will feel like you are a part of something greater than
So
yourself.
how many share members do you have?
We have about 100 families.
Okay.
And then we supply enough, I mean, we supply that ton of food to the inn, but we consider them, you know, at the inn, the people that go to the inn for food are considered their guests.
Right.
And we consider them our members. They're our hidden members, even though we don't see them.
Right.
So they get the same quality, beautiful food that our members get. They get it in a little bit different style. So if you come to the farm, you're going to see a board, and it's going to tell you 2 pounds or 4 pounds of tomato, 1 bunch of carrots, 1 bunch of turnips.
Right.
What they like is 100 pounds of tomatoes.
Right, I got you, I got you.
So that's how we do it with them.
Right, right.
So it's a small enough community for people to form friendships, some deep and beautiful friendships. And it's an opportunity to feel like you're a part of something that's taking care of the earth at a time we're just getting bad news.
Yeah, is there a limit on the number of people that can own shares in the farm, or
We're at our maximum right now.
so you're maxed out
we're-
as
yes,
far as
but every
Right.
year we have a certain amount of attrition.
Right.
So call me. I'll put you on the waiting list,
Right.
and you might get to be a member. And then we're looking at expanding the farm in the coming year,
Okay.
possibly year or two. So we'll be getting much larger.
All right.
There's
So
also-
if they want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Well, the best thing to do is to email me.
Okay.
Okay, because I am out at the farm a lot. If you try and call me, I'm out with my hands in the dirt.
Okay.
So if you just email
Unlike the
me.
data check.
Yes. Who's in our
Again.
office. She's in our office and she's on the computer. And you can reach me at sophiagardengrow@aol.com. And that's the best way to reach me.
Also, we have a Friend of the Farm program. So if you are not one of those lucky families, but you want to really
Help.
support the farm and help the farm, can you elaborate on that?
And so this is a new thing that we're working on. It'll actually be inaugurated at this event. And people will be saying that maybe I can't be a member of the farm, or maybe I live too far away, but I love what you're doing and I want to be a part of it. And so you donate to the farm and you become a friend of the farm. And what's very exciting is that Tom, everyone at this event who becomes a friend of the farm will be getting a bracelet that they will be able to bring to Jewel. They'll be able to hand it in, and they will be getting a bottle of wine at their table.
Wow.
At their, right,
At their
accompanying a
That's
dinner for two. A dinner for
fantastic.
two or more, they'll get a bottle of his own wine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So how do people get involved in this event again? Tell us.
Okay. So Ellen? you wanna-
Yeah, again, it's right on the Homecoming Farm website. Right on the homepage, you just click through that picture of Tom,
Right.
and it'll bring you to
And
the
that
registration.
website is?
Is
We'll go to
HomecomingEarth.org.
homecomingearth.org. All right. And it's September 27th from
Correct.
6 to 8:30.
Correct.
All right. See, because it says it right here,
There
6
you
to
go.
8:30. So I got it right. Look, these guys are doing great work. They're doing fantastic work for us. So support them in every way that you can. If you want to become, a member, go to their website.
Right. Reach
Yeah.
out to me, and
Reach
I
out-
put you
reach out
right
to Elizabeth.
on the waiting list, and you'll be the next one in line.
Yeah.
Right. And like I told you guys, the time was going to fly.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
Right. So
Yes,
we've
it was
come.
great.
We've come to the end of the show. I really want to thank you guys for being on tonight.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
You do great work, not only with your business, but with the charity, and just fantastic. And I just love the passion that you have for your, you love what you do.
I love what I
and
do.
that's fantastic. And we all should do what we love to do.
That's right.
Without a
Right.
doubt.
So one more time, Ellen, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Sure.
All right.
So I am the Data Chick, and you can email me at ellen@thedatachick.com.
All right. And Elizabeth.
And I'm Elizabeth, and I'm the executive director of Homecoming Farm. And
Everybody, so what a great show. I had a great time tonight. Listen, Norm, get better soon, buddy. We're going to be seeing you before you know it. You'll be back next to me, and we'll be having a grand old time. Coming Tuesday, the 21st, at the Stony Brook Small Business Center, I will be part of an expert panel on trade shows. So why don't you come out and see me? It starts at 9 o'clock, goes from 9 to 11, 8:30 is registration, a little refreshment, some coffee, some donuts, things like that. So I want to wish everybody a good week, and we'll see you next week. Everybody have a good week now. Good night. Today's show is brought to you by Friend Entertainment USA, producing the best concerts for charities and corporations for over 30 years. And CBMS Consulting Services. Control your business before it controls you. In association with Area 22 Productions, your multimedia streaming network. If you're interested in being a guest on our show, visit our website at www.bphdmm.com for more information.